Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered into the four corners of the earth, according to Bible prophecy, by slavery and by oppression because of disobedience, who are now awaiting the return of the Hebrew Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, to establish the kingdom in his Father's name on the earth. Greetings. Greetings upon those that are not of the bloodline of the 12 tribes, but are, as it were, grafted in to the body of the Messiah, grafted in through faith in the Father's righteousness through the Messiah, and are also awaiting the return of the Messiah to establish the kingdom in the name of his Father. Greetings. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field who are trying to save lives, whether it's weekends, holidays, whatever day or week or the year it is. Without some of these people, many would not exist. And because of them, many remain alive. Blessings upon them. Blessings upon also those that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those unsung heroes that make deliveries for us in 18-wheelers, in bicycles, and everything in between for our convenience and comfort. Blessings, double blessings on those trying to deliver, boys and girls, men and women, children, babies, teenagers, from the clutches of sex slave and human trafficking operations going on a worldwide basis that result in prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, and also those that are suffering under pedophilia and molestation from adults to children. Curses upon those that practice these heinous and disgusting acts, and double blessings on those that are trying to help, trying to deliver, trying to rescue these innocents. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. 600,000 men, women, children, human beings, families, veterans, living on the streets of the United States of America with no roof over their head. Millions more around the world in worse condition. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom, and those that are trying in any way to help alleviate these unfortunate situations. Tonight, you will see the background here is a little different. We have rearranged our bedroom. And so, whereas before you look over this shoulder, I was over that side of the room. Now I'm kind of facing this way in the middle of the room, and you see the two windows in our bedroom behind us. So it's a little bit different. And I'm also getting used to it. The light's a little darker over here because I used to have a lamp right next to me, but that lamp is now over here. So is what it is. So I'm just to let you know what's going on. Also, my apologies. Oh, by the way, blessings and welcome to the people that are in the chat. Azariah, Sister Isha, Brother Williams, Stephen Kelly, Jr., Heavenly Garden, Righteous is the Way. Blessings upon you, and thank you for being here. Wednesday night, I could not do the Bible study Wednesday night. There was so much going on between work and between, we were having work done in the house here. And it was crazy. I mean, all day there was constant drilling and banging and craziness, all the way into the night. And so there was just a lot going on. And so, that's why we could not do the Bible study Wednesday night. And we had to prepare for all of that too and move all our stuff around, which is what gave us the opportunity to rearrange our bedroom. So anyway, that's why I wasn't here for Wednesday night. But tonight's study in Jeremiah chapter 50 is another very important study. We're now coming into basically the last three chapters. You believe that? We're at the last three chapters of the study of Jeremiah. We're at the last three chapters of the study of Jeremiah. And I think what I'm going to do next is I want to do what they call minor prophets, three of them. I want to do Zephaniah, and then two of the prophets of the northern kingdom, Hosea and Amos. I'd like to do those in our next group of studies. Each of those are going to be shorter studies because those are smaller volumes of books. Well, Hosea, I believe, is 14 chapters, and I think Amos is 9 chapters or vice versa, something to that effect. So they're going to be shorter, but very important for us to see, for example, where the Indians fit in, the so-called Native Americans, so-called indigenous peoples of the Americas. We're going to talk about that when we go to those books. So tonight, though, the study tonight is very important in that it shows us what's just ahead of us. So you can see every day, in the news and what's happening around you, prophecies being fulfilled as the Bible shows us. And this chapter 50 of Jeremiah, in the study of the demise of Babylon, you're going to see also some interesting things that's going on right now and that we can expect. In fact, let's take a look at a couple of verses just to remind us what all of this means, because unfortunately, in the world of Bible study, for example, a lot of people treat the Bible like it's a philosophical book. Some people treat it like it's not literal. Some people will only pay attention to parts of it. And we've talked about that. And again, I just want to encourage you all, please, prayerfully, if you believe in the Creator and you want to honor him, go to him through the name of the Messiah, YHWH, and ask him to guide you as you read his word, the King James Bible. Please read the whole thing from Genesis to Revelation. A lot of you, I'm praising the Most High on a daily basis for you, because some of you are very diligent in your Bible study, and you're trying your best to get through in that year that it takes to do this. That's a beautiful thing. It's a blessed thing. The Most High will bless your efforts as you're seeking to know more about him and his will and what's coming. He will bless you for that. He will open your eyes and you will see things. It's that time of history. The Bible says that he's going to cause his servants to dream dreams and have visions. He's going to cause his servants to be filled with his spirit. It's that time. That's our only protection and safeguarding hope in this era filled with lies, where we're in a system that's based in lies. The only protection, the only way you're going to see clear is not how smart you are. It's not because of your IQ or because how much research you do. It's going to be based in the spirit of the Father and in your given understanding of his word. And I say given understanding because he gives understanding. Understanding doesn't come by the ingenuity of man. It comes by the power of the Father's Spirit upon a person. And he will give you that understanding. And he will give you that vision and that discernment so you will see. And if you look at this, Revelation, again, just a reminder, Revelation chapter 1, verse 1, the revelation of Messiah, YHWH, or Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of Yah and of the testimony of Jesus Christ, or YHWH, the Messiah, and of all things that he saw. So again, prophecy, let me be more specific. The understanding of prophecy is not given to everybody. A proper understanding, interpretation of prophecy is not given to everybody. It says here, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him, to show unto his servants. The proper understanding of Bible prophecy and the foreknowledge that it will give you is only for Yah's servants. It's not for everybody. So everybody that stands up with a Bible in their hand doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about prophecy, unless they are one of Yah's servants. And we know also from the scriptures that his servants are the Israelite people. His servants are the last days. As a matter of fact, notice it says again, Revelation chapter 7, which we know, Revelation chapter 7, just in case somebody wants to doubt what I'm saying, Revelation chapter 7. And this is the thing. Well, we'll talk about this in a second. But Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. Revelation chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed who? The servants of our Most High in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. There were sealed 144,000 of the servants. Revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. These are the ones going to get the understanding of Revelation. First of all, if you're dealing with somebody that has a Bible and doesn't realize they're an Israelite, either they just haven't awakened yet, because there's a lot that's going to awaken that haven't awakened yet, and they will get understanding, so they won't have it now, and there are others that will never get it, because they're fighting who the true Israelites are. They're fighting against it. Therefore, you already know they're not a servant. Okay? It's not hard. It's not hard. All right? So, to show unto his servants. So, these things that are written here are given for the servants of Yah so that we will know ahead of time what's coming. We will not be surprised, as the majority of the planet Earth is going to be overwhelmingly surprised. They're going to be overwhelmingly surprised and panicking. Okay? Panicking. Whereas the servants of Yah, having been given the understanding of what's coming, will not be panicking or surprised. And not just because we have been given a foreknowledge of what's coming, but because of the Spirit of the Father giving us rest and peace. Notice what it says here in Isaiah chapter 32. Isaiah chapter 32. And we're preparing, we're just warming up till we get to Jeremiah chapter 50. We're going to get there, but I just got to give you all, as you know, the warm up first. Isaiah chapter 32. Notice what it says. Isaiah chapter 32 from verse 15 to verse 18. From verse 15 to verse 18, Isaiah chapter 32. Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. Now watch verse 17. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. For my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. Yes, even though things will be going crazy around us, we can be at peace because of Father's righteousness given to us in his Spirit from Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, YHWH. And that, along with the foreknowledge that he's given us, will keep us as things continue to get crazy. For example, if you remember in 2008, there was a financial collapse. You might, if you're old enough to remember, if you were an adult at that time, people were panicking. You were seeing in September and October of 2008, huge corporations collapse. People were closing up shop and moving, getting kicked out of offices because big corporations were going out of business. You remember that? And I remember there were people at that time that were coming at me. I had been doing Bible studies, and I wasn't awakened to where I am right now as an Israelite, but I was focusing on the Bible only at that time. And I was not worried. And it wasn't that I was smart. It's because the Father's Spirit was keeping me and giving me to understand this is planned by them. Don't panic. But I had people, Christians, calling me What should I do? Should I sell my 401k? Should I do this? This is crazy. Is it time? It's time now. The time of trouble now. It's going crazy now. And I was trying to I was spending a lot of my time at that time calming people down. And people was telling me, other preachers were saying, no, give your money to the church now. We need to spread the message now. And people was going crazy. And that, as you look back now, it was nothing. When COVID hit, just a year and a half ago, people were going crazy. People were going crazy. People were scared. I went into the store, all the water was gone. All the paper stuff was gone. People was packing up stuff. People were stealing stuff. People were panicking. You remember that? Wasn't that long ago. And I remember telling y'all in March of 2020, this is a dress rehearsal. Y'all, some of y'all remember that. I said, this is a dress rehearsal. Don't panic. And then when they came out with the vaccine, again, new level of panic. Oh, that's the mark of the beast. Oh, don't say it's the mark of the beast. And I said to y'all, it's not the mark of the beast. Don't panic. Brethren, what I'm saying to you is, you're going to see crazier things than these. It's going to get more hectic. It's like back in the day, old Fat Joe said, brothers, watch your back because things are getting hectic. Well, it's about to get hectic. It's going to get more hectic. Through it all, though, by following the Spirit of the Father and following his word, we would not have to panic. We would not panic. We have, what does it say? In the work of righteousness shall be peace. In the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance forever. That's what we will have at that time. As a matter of fact, people are going to think we crazy. They're going to really think we crazy. Look at Philippians. Philippians. Let's see, chapter 2, Philippians chapter 2. Yeah, I believe that's what I want. Philippians chapter 2. Yeah, is that what I want? This is chapter 1. No, it's chapter 1. It's Philippians chapter 1. I'm going to read Philippians chapter 1. I'm going to start at verse 25. Watch what it says about how people will look at us and how they looked at the apostle Shaul or Paul at that time. Watch this. Philippians chapter 1, I'll begin at verse 25, and I'm going to go down to verse 30. And having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and joy of faith, that your rejoicing may be more abundant in YHWH the Messiah, or Jesus Christ, for me by my coming to you again. Only let your conversation be as it becometh the gospel of Messiah, that whether I come and see you or else be absent, I may hear of your affairs, that ye may stand fast in one spirit with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. That, as we know, the faith of the gospel is the righteousness of the Father. And in nothing, watch this now, in nothing terrified by your adversaries, which is to them an evident token of perdition, but to you of salvation and that of Yah. For unto you it is given on behalf of Messiah, not only to believe on him, but also to suffer for his sake, having the same conflict which ye saw in me and now here to be in me. For them is our calmness in the state of panic all around us will be a token of perdition to them about us. But us, he said, is of salvation, and it says, and that of Yah. See, so we'll be calm, cool, and collected. They'll be panicking, and they'll be wondering why we're not panicking. And they'll look at it as if we must be crazy. like they did in 2008, like a lot of people did a year and a half ago, like it's going to happen in the future. You see how the word shows us everything? I just gave you a little example. You see how it shows us? That's how, because we got real examples. Look, you remember what they did in 2008, and you remember what was happening a year and a half ago. You remember what happened on 9/11? If you were there at that time, panic everywhere. People were scared. They didn't know what was going on, what to expect. More is coming. More is coming. Okay. Now, I want to show you, before we get into Jeremiah, some references to end time Babylon, and especially in the book of Revelation, but I want to start in Daniel. Okay. So references to end time Babylon. Let's look at Daniel chapter 12. Daniel chapter 12. And we know that it's like, okay, let me just explain that. I should not assume that everybody knows. Let me not do that. But Daniel 10, Daniel 11, and Daniel 12 are one volume. It's one thing. It was all done at the same time. It's all one like story, one section. Okay. It's just divided up by the word chapter 11 and chapter 12 and chapter 10, but it's really just one thing. So if you want to understand what's going on, say in chapter 12, you really need to start at chapter 10 because that's where it all begins. Okay. So what we're, for our sake here, for our conversation, what we're studying in Jeremiah, I'm going to start in chapter 12, but it's a continuation of chapter 11, which is a continuation of chapter 10. And in chapter 11, it talks about the king of the north, which we know to be the Roman church, the Vatican church, which is the whore that controls the beast. Okay, it's the whore that controls the beast, which is the world government. So that we understand that from our previous studies, Babylon is a worldwide political and religious system. And when I say political, you have to remember, we talk about politics, right? If you just look at the United States, and I don't have to go far, you don't have to look hard for you to understand what I'm about to say. You will understand that the United States Congress and senators are bought and controlled by U.S. corporations and multinational corporations. You want to know why things get done and why other things don't get done? Is at the behest and on behalf of corporate people, especially corporate America. Okay, so when you're talking about politics, you're also talking about business because it's run by business. When people want to run for president, you understand they do what? They raise money. Where does the big money come from? Corporate entities. Corporate entities have armies of lawyers that they call lobbyists. Lobbyists go to Washington to speak to politicians on behalf of corporations. Laws are passed or not based on the will and money and power and influence of the corporation. So that when I talk about a worldwide entity that's controlling both religion and politics, you're also dealing there inside the politics with business and corporations. Not only that, all of the major religious entities, organized religious entities in the United States are corporations. They're 501c3, but they're all corporations. A corporation is not a person. It's an entity. People control it, but it's in itself an entity. It's a thing. And those things controlled by human beings who you don't see most of the time control politics. That's your beast that the whore is riding. Okay? You have all kinds of corporations, very powerful ones. You know, corporations that deal with energy, corporations that deal with drugs, corporations that deal with cars, corporations that deal with, internet, information technology. huge, powerful corporations. Okay. Restaurant, everything that you deal with in your whole society, there's a corporation behind it. Whether it's the clothes you're wearing, the food you're eating, the seeds you buy, there's a corporation behind it. And so Babylon is a worldwide system of corporate power that is in politics and religion. Okay, and the Most High allows it. See, one of the questions you want to always ask yourself is, why does the Most High allow this, or why does he allow that? And why does he? And we talked about this before. In order for the deliverance to be credited to Father Yah alone, he's going to allow Satan, and he has, to envelop the entire planet in Babylon, to envelop the entire planet in deception and lies, to envelop the entire planet in his religious systems. It's already there. And so when we are delivered from this, and we're going to read about it, we are only going to give praise and honor and glory to the one who deserves it. It won't be because we were so smart, or because, we just figured things out, or because we were just, ahead of the game because of our own ingenuity. It's going to be because the word of the Father and his Spirit guided our steps, and we listened. Daniel chapter 12, beginning at verse 1. Daniel chapter 12 is only 13 verses long. I'm only going to read down to verse 10, though. So Daniel chapter 12 from 1 to 10. Greetings, Sadat. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. We are at the time of the end now. That's why the book is now opened, as Revelation 10 showed us. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. Now, let me explain what that means. In chapter 10, Daniel saw Messiah standing on the river, and he was on the side of the river. And Messiah called Gabriel to make Daniel understand what he was about to be shown. And Gabriel was talking to Daniel, and Daniel was out of breath. He was overwhelmed by the sight of Messiah, the same way John the Revelator was when he saw Messiah in Revelation chapter 1. And they describe him very similar. So now he's looking at the river, and he sees two other angels appear on each side of the bank of the river. That's where we're at right here. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, that's Messiah, which was upon the waters of the river. See, he's standing on the water. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he had held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever and ever, that it shall be for a time, times and in half. When he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my master, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. Now, watch verse 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, and the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. The wicked, none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Who are the wise? They that turn many to righteousness. Those are the wise ones. The wise shall understand. Okay? Now, Babylon. Revelation. Let's start in Revelation chapter, where it first appears in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14. And we know the story. The 144,000 appear with the Messiah on Mount Zion. And again, I just want to stress to you what's going on here. In Revelation 13, what we're seeing the beast power. We don't see the woman, because the woman is hidden in the wilderness. You don't see her. She's in secret. She's mystery, remember. But so you see the completed work of Babylon in the beginning of Revelation 13. The rest of 13 shows how they got to that completed work, including the rise of the United States of America and its worldwide influence. Not people not understanding that worldwide influence and power is by the same dragon that gave the beast the power, seat, and authority. And that this worldwide power of the United States is working on behalf of the first beast. Well, in Revelation 14, you're seeing the 144,000 when it's all over, standing on Mount Zion with Messiah. The rest of 14 shows what happened to how they got to that point. So if you look at it like that, you'll see it a lot clearer. So if you see, okay, this is the finished work of the 144,000. This is them being done, they sealed, and then the rest of it showed all of the message they gave and what the result of that message was that caused them to be able to stand on Mount Zion with Messiah. Okay, so I'm not going to read the first 5 verses of Revelation. I'm just going to go, because we're talking about Babylon. So I'm just going to go to what it talks about with Babylon. Revelation chapter 14, verse 6, 7. I'm going to read from verse 6 down to verse 12, from 6 to 12. Actually, from 6 to 13. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear YHWH and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there appeared another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest, night, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of YHWH. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, Blessed are the dead which die in the Master from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow. I just had a brother a couple months ago. I asked y'all if you were compelled to give to his cause because he was dying of terminal cancer. Well, he has passed away. He was not that old. He was in his 50s, I believe, and was a very health conscious man. And the Most High is referencing people like him in verse 13. Blessed are the dead which die in the Master from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them. He's allowing people to rest in their graves. And as we saw, some are going to be awakened to everlasting life and some to shame and everlasting contempt. My brother, he rests in peace, and may he be in that former group that rests in peace and rise to everlasting life in the Messiah YHWH. And so that's the reference here. But we see the reference to Babylon being declared finished, fallen. Now, I want to stress to you also this. The message of the fall of Babylon, and this might be obvious to you, but I want to stress it anyway, is going to come prior to the fall of Babylon. In other words, it will not look like Babylon's about to fall to most people. But to the wise, to the servants, they will know and they will give this message. It's finished. It's fallen. It's over. And most people are going to think they're crazy. But they're not giving that message in vain. For there will be those that respond to that message and take their stand on Yah's side, in the side of righteousness. Okay? Revelation chapter 16. Revelation chapter 16. Beginning at verse 12. Revelation 16, beginning at verse 12. Here's another reference to Babylon. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. That's the main river that flowed through ancient Babylon. And the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Kings of the east, Father and Messiah. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. The United States is the false prophet. The beast is the worldwide government controlled by the Vatican. And of course, the dragon is the devil. And he saw three unclean spirits come out of their mouths. He saw a spirit come out of the mouth of the devil. How can he see the devil? Because at the end, Messiah taught us the devil is going to impersonate Messiah. He's going to make people think Messiah has come. This is going to be the final overmastering delusion right before the real Messiah actually does come. Don't worry, you will not be fooled, because we have the word that's preparing us ahead of time in the spirit of the Father within us to give us the calmness and the peace to be firm. But the rest of the earth are going to be completely fooled. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of Al Shaddai. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together in a place called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before YHWH to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blaspheme Yah because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Destruction of Babylon. The warning heading up to the destruction of Babylon in this particular verse, one of them, is the unclean spirits coming out of the mouth of the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet, particularly the dragon. But what you're going to see is you're going to see power coming out of organized religion. The power is going to be from Asatan. It's going to be in disobedience to the word of the Most High. Because all of the organized religious churches worship false gods. Because there is no organized corporate denomination in the Bible. But people are going to flock to them. Except us. Because we don't follow corporate organized corporation religion. We are a scattered nation awaiting the Hebrew Messiah. Father will give us the power and assurance to stand firm. But these people are going to be completely deceived because they would already be lost. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5. Revelation 17, verse 5. Actually, let me start at verse 3. Verse 3, 4, and 5. Revelation 17, 3, 4, 5. Actually, I'm going to read to verse 6. Revelation 17, 3 through 6. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Messiah. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. She was drunk with the martyrs of Messiah and the blood of saints. And she was powerful, and she looked beautiful. But she was a whore. And she was controlled by Asatan. And she controlled a world government, a beast. That's where we are. Here, Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 6. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, it's become the habitation of devils, and the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Brethren, this has not happened yet. How do we know? Verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. That's the power of the Father's Spirit. That's the latter rain power. Getting ready to come in a few short years. And when it does, that's the message that's going to be given. You can see the message, but it's the power. That's the thing. You remember the disciples in Acts chapter 1, they were wondering if the Messiah was ready to establish the kingdom. Messiah said no, and it's not for you to know when. That's what he said to them. It's for us to know when. Remember, book is closed up and sealed until the time of the end. That's where we live. But notice what Messiah said to them. From verse 4, Acts chapter 1, from verse 4 down to verse 8. And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which, saith he, ye have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Master, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel? And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath in his own power. In other words, it's not for you to know, but this is for you to know. But ye shall receive power after that the Holy Ghost is come upon you. Okay, why are they receiving power? Let's continue. And ye shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. So the power was given that they can be his witnesses. Revelation 18. The power is given so that the 144,000 will be able to be Yah's witnesses. And whoever receives the message will also be given that power by the laying on of hands and by the Most High himself through Messiah. Okay? So that's what Revelation 18 has not happened yet. That power has not come yet. But it's coming. And we're getting warnings and we're being shown it's coming. Okay? It's coming. So now all of that is modern Babylon. What we're about to read in Jeremiah 50 applies to modern Babylon. And I'm going to show you why. Okay? So it's also ancient Babylon, but I'm going to show you why it applies to modern Babylon. Okay? Here we go. Jeremiah chapter 50. Jeremiah chapter 50, beginning at verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 50, beginning at verse 1. The word that Yahweh spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. So it starts off, you can see this is the beginning of this particular prophecy of Jeremiah because it gives you the introduction. The word which Yahweh spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. So this is the beginning of this prophetic utterance that Father gave through Messiah to the prophet Jeremiah, the Hebrew prophet of the tribe of Levi. So he gave him this one here. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 2. Declare ye among the nations and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken. Bel is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces. Now, again, what we mentioned earlier, prophecy, prophetic utterance is saying things that have not happened yet. Right? That's what makes it prophecy. It hasn't happened yet. So Jeremiah was given this utterance prior to the destruction of Babylon, describing the destruction of Babylon. Hey, we just read in Revelation chapter 14 where the 144,000 will say Babylon is falling before it's falling. Okay, same thing. And it uses the word Bel. Bel was the name of their god. That was the name of their god. And Babylon today also has false gods, a multitude of false gods. Every single denomination by its name is another god. The Baptists have one. The Pentecostals have one. The SDAs have one. The Mormons have one. The Jehovah's Witnesses have one. The Shiites got one. The Kurds got one. Okay? The Sunnis got one. The Catholics got one. There's only one chosen nation. And the Bible shows us it's a scattered nation. But he says, I'm going to remember the promise I made to your ancestors. And we're going to read more of them promises right here in Jeremiah 50. Okay, let's continue. Where is the problem going to come from? Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 3. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove and they shall depart both man and beast. Now, let's stop here. Out of the north. Who destroyed Babylon? Coming out of the north. The children of Japhet. The Medes and the Persians. The Medes are your children, Japhet, and the Persians. It says Babylon shall not stand anymore, which tells you something. The nation that's there now, Iraq, is not Babylon, because Babylon doesn't exist anymore. Let me say that again. As far as this literal nation doesn't exist anymore. That's why it's now called Iraq. It was taken over. It was taken over. Okay, it was taken over. All right, that's why it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, people say, well, Iraq still exists. That's not Babylon. They have remnants of what was Babylon there, but it's not Babylon anymore. Babylon doesn't exist. Babylon worshiped Baal. Iraq worships Allah. It's different. Okay. Now, not only that, we got to add another twist to this. That was ancient Babylon. But in modern Babylon, it says, for out of the north. Now, wait a minute. Watch. We know Messiah say, when he returns, he's coming out of the east. But also, something is coming out of the north. Hold your finger there. Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah 14. This is Asatan's secret wish. Verse 13. Isaiah 14, verse 13. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yah. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So the Most High sits. His throne is called the sides of the north. Yeah? His throne is called the sides of the north. So that's why he says, out of the north, you're going to have a problem. And that's why Daniel says, notice in Daniel chapter 11, watch this, Daniel 11, we were just in 12, but notice Daniel 11, verse 44. Watch Daniel 11, 44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore, he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. Out of the east and out of the north, the Son and the Father. That's why it says here in Jeremiah chapter 50, not only did the Medes and the Persians come out of the north, but ultimately the Father and Messiah represent the north and the east. Y'all catching it? So it says, for out of the north there cometh a nation against her. And that's why also, one more, we went back, Revelation chapter 16. Remember we was in Revelation 16 just a couple of minutes ago. And notice it said, Revelation 16, in the sixth plague, verse 12, for the sixth angel poured out his vial over upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. Why? That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Kings, Father and Messiah. Wait a minute, one more. Revelation chapter 6. Revelation chapter 6. Revelation 6. The sixth seal, where we live right now. Revelation chapter 6. Verse 15, 16, and 17 of Revelation chapter 6. the sixth seal. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captain, and every mighty man, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. What they say? And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us. Hide us from who? From the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And then, of course, you get the 144,000. For the great day of his wrath is come. So from the throne, that's Father. And then the Lamb. That's why also they got problems coming out of the north from the Father in modern Babylon. See how deep this is? Jeremiah chapter 50. Now watch this. Verse 4. We got to eat this one morsel at a time. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 4. And in those days and in that time, saith Yahweh. Remember what Daniel said? At that time, thy people shall be delivered. Everyone that shall be found written in the book. Watch this. In those days and in that time, saith Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, and they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping, they shall go and seek Yahweh their Most High. Now, I want you to understand something. Let me stop right here. Y'all understand that the prophecy of Jeremiah happened during the Babylonian captivity. Jeremiah was a prophet right before the Babylonian captivity, and he was the prophet as Babylon came and put Israelites in captivity. Y'all understand that? We also study how Ezekiel was one of the captives in Babylon during the captivity. He says, I was among the captives, right? So let me ask y'all, listen to me carefully. Here's a rhetorical question, which I'm going to answer, but I want you to think about this for a second. Who was taken captive specifically in terms of the Israelite nation? Who specifically was taken captive by the Israelite nation? Was it not? And that's the question. Now, here's the answer. It was the southern kingdom of Judah that was taken captive. Okay? Let me say it again. So when Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon came, they destroyed Jerusalem and Solomon's temple, and they took the people of the southern kingdom of Judah captive. Remember what Daniel said? Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1. From verse 1 down to verse 2. Daniel 1, 1 and 2. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And Yahweh gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of Yah, and he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. Okay? It was Judah. Okay? So he took the southern kingdom of Judah captive. Why do I keep saying that? Because it was already a couple of centuries prior that the northern kingdom of Israel was taken by the Assyrians. Okay? So the northern kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, were already taken when Nebuchadnezzar came and took captive the southern kingdom of Judah. Why do I mention that multiple times? Because notice what the verse says. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 4. Watch what it says. In those days, in that time, saith Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come. And it says they and who? And the children of Judah. Now, let me ask you, are you ready? Here's a question. In the state of Israel right now, are the people there coming from Israel and Judah? Are those children of Israel and Judah? Or right now, even the Ashkenazis admit that the 10 northern tribes are lost tribes. Don't they say that? They're lost. They call them what? The lost tribes of Israel. And they call themselves Jewish, supposedly representing the southern kingdom of Judah. Supposedly. But they say the 10 tribes are lost tribes. But here, this scripture is telling us that at the time of the judgment of Babylon, Israel and Judah are going to do what? It says, they together going and weeping, they shall go and seek Yahweh their Most High. The southern kingdom of Judah and the 10 tribes that are supposed to be the lost tribes, they're going to all come back seeking the kingdom. That's how you know it's today. It's coming now. It's not then. It's not for the Babylon destruction then, because only Judah was taken captive. Y'all catching me now? So it's going to be the northern 10 tribes plus the southern kingdom of Judah. Judah's tribe were Benjamin and Levi. As the Bible shows us about the 144,000, when it talks about 144,000 of the children of Israel, 12 tribes of the children of Israel. It says the children of Israel and Judah. And it's not just there that it makes that distinction. There's many places. Let me just give you one more, though, in Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. Notice what it says in Isaiah chapter 11. I'm going to read Isaiah 11. I'm going to start at verse 10 and come down to verse 13. Isaiah 11. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Amath and the islands of the sea. I want you to also notice, when we studied Jeremiah earlier, it talked about all these nations being scattered and being brought back, some of them. I'm going to bring back again their captivity. Remember that? Israelites were scattered too, and they were scattered with these people. Verse 12. Watch verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and he shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah. He makes a distinction. So the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom are both coming back. That's how you know it's today. That's why we're going to read Hosea and Amos. Okay? And it says, look, verse 12, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Wait a minute. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Why did he mention Ephraim? Because Ephraim was the capital of the 10 tribes. The capital of the northern kingdom was Ephraim. So he's mentioning Ephraim, he's talking about Israel, the northern kingdom. He mentions Judah, he's talking about Judah, the southern kingdom. And he said, we're going to be one. One more. Ezekiel, I'm going to give you 3 witnesses, including Jeremiah. So Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37. This is after the valley full of bones. Ezekiel chapter 37. Notice what it says in Ezekiel 37. I'm going to start at verse 16 and go down to verse 24. From verse 16 to verse 24. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the father of Ephraim, for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, so the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, and join them one to another into one stick. And they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen. From where? From among the heathen. And whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation, in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their most high. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, saying the same thing. So that when you go to Revelation and you see Babylon and you talk about the servants, now you know what they're talking about. Okay? Now you know what they're talking about. The servants are the Israelites that are going to be brought back to their God. Awakened, as it were. Back to their God. Again, I know people are all hurting because, well, what about the Gentiles? The Gentiles that will be grafted in will be in receiving inheritance among the children of Israel. The Bible says that. Let me show you. Ezekiel chapter 45. Ezekiel chapter 45. Ezekiel chapter 45. Now, you can't just go ahead and lump all Israelites and all Gentiles into one thing. We talked about that when he talked about judgment on Gentiles, terms that he was calling Egypt, and he was calling Moab and all them. That's different than children of Yafet who are Gog and Magog. Okay, and they're not all going to react the same way. They're not. Some of them going to come to the truth. Some of them not. Some of them going to be taken captive. Some of them going to be surrendered and be part. So you can't just parcel them all together in one thing, which we studied already. Now look, I'm sorry. It's Ezekiel chapter 47. Watch Ezekiel chapter 47. I'm going to start at verse 21. From verse 21 down to verse 23. Watch what it says. So shall ye divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance among you, and to the strangers that sojourn among you, which shall beget children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel. And they shall have an inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. What tribe will they be of? Watch what it says. And it shall come to pass that in what tribe the stranger sojourneth, there shall ye give him his inheritance, saith the Most High. So whatever tribe they feel like, they're not the bloodline, but they'll be among us, and they'll receive inheritance in whatever land they decide to dwell in. Those are y'all that are now surrendering to this truth right now. That's your promise, and there's more like it. There's more like it. Okay. What was that I just read? I just gave you Ezekiel chapter 47. Let me give you Isaiah chapter 56. Isaiah chapter 56. So I got to give you two witnesses, right? So there's more, but let me just give you because we got to continue in Jeremiah, right? Isaiah chapter 56. Isaiah 56. Watch what it says. People try to talk around this and give all kind of lip service as to why it's not what it says. It says exactly what it is. Isaiah chapter 56, beginning at verse 1. Beginning at verse 1, going down from 1 to the perfect number 7. Thus saith Yahweh, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man that doeth this, and the son of man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Neither let the son of the stranger that had joined himself, that has joined himself to Yahweh, to the scattered nation, speak, saying, Yahweh hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. For thus saith Yahweh unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths and choose the things that please me and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. And I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also, the sons of the stranger. Here we go. That join themselves unto Yahweh to serve him, to love the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it and taketh hold of my covenant, even then will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. Beautiful, isn't it? Praise the Most High. Back to Jeremiah chapter 50. See how we digging this out, right? So you can see the children of Israel and the children of Judah are going to be brought back to the land. They're going to be brought back weeping. In other words, repentant. The key here, brethren, repentance. They're going to be brought back weeping as they go. That means they're repentant for their sins. As they come back to their God, as they are awakened as to who they are. Okay? Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 5. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in the perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people, watch this, verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. They have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them. Their adversaries said, we offend not, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, the hope of their fathers. Verse 8. Remove out of the midst of Babylon. Go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, be as the goats before the rocks. See? Come out of her. We talked about 3 ways of escaping Babylon. The first way is by the spirit of worship. You're worshiping Yah alone. Father Yahweh is the only true God. He has set forth his Messiah, YHWH, as the Savior, as the sacrifice for sin of his people, of the children of Israel. I came not, said Messiah, but for the lost sheep of the children of Israel. Peter said he came to give repentance to Israel and the Gentiles through Israel in Messiah to the Father. Okay? So Father is saying here, all that found us devoured us. Remove out of the midst of Babylon. So you're taking the spirit of the Father and you're worshiping him alone, him and his word in the name of Messiah. That's the first step of coming out of Babylon. Remember what we said. It's a religious and political worldwide entity. That's Babylon, worldwide. And the political entity and the religious entity are controlled by corporate powers. Even the Vatican is a corporation. Okay, even the Vatican is a corporation. Even the whole United States of American government is a corporation. It's a corporate power. Okay, so it's incorporated. So that being the case, first we leave Babylon in the spirit by serving truth and righteousness. That's the first step. The second step you ain't got to worry about because it'll come upon you if you're following the first step. If you're following the first step and you're worshiping the Father and you take hold of his covenant, as the word said, you take hold of the covenant to be obedient to the Father, to give the Father glory and the righteousness in your repentance in Messiah's blood. The next step will come when they stop you from buying or selling. Whosoever, you know what I'm saying? Whosoever would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, bond and free, to receive a mark in their right hand and their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. That's when they push you out. You're no longer part of the corporate structure. You'll be out on your own with the clothes on your back. Now you're out of, before that, you already got out of the religious corporate power of Babylon. Now you're out of the political and economic corporate power of Babylon by force because you're obeying the covenant. The third and final deliverance will be at the return of Father and Messiah, when our bodies are going to be changed in a moment in the twinkling of an eye, and we have new bodies that cannot die, that cannot corrupt, that will live forever. And we will have access to the tree of life, which will perpetuate our eternal existence. That's the final deliverance from Babylon by Messiah and the Father. That's how you leave Babylon. So the first thing to move out of Babylon is not a place, because every place you go is Babylon. Just ask the Father where he wants you to be, because that's the safest place for you. All of us are definitely not going to be in the same place. Some of us are going to be together in small groups, but we're going to be scattered throughout the earth just like we are now, because that's how the message is going to get sent all over the earth. And we would have left spirit Babylon by worshiping Father in obedience to his covenant, by repentance and having his spirit in our foreheads. That's the first step. Like I said, the other steps come. The most important step is the first one, is to receive the spirit of repentance from the Father, be sealed in the righteousness of the Father through Messiah. And then you're counted as obedient to the covenant. Righteousness is granted to you. Okay. The next two steps come as a result of the first step, when they kick you out, when you can't buy or sell because you're obedient to the covenant. You're not part of corporate structure religion. Then they'll kick you out of corporate structure, political and business. You won't be able to make no money. Bitcoin won't help you. Dollars won't help you. Pesos won't help you. You'll be out. Totally dependent on your Father, like your ancient fathers were when they went through the wilderness on the way to the promised land. We'll also be totally dependent on our Father. Only then they were coming directly from Egypt into Canaan. We'll be coming from all over the planet. That's what it says here. Children of Israel and the children of Judah going together, weeping as they go. We coming from all over the planet. And the Bible says in Jeremiah, we read it here in Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23. I'm going to have to stop here soon, but Jeremiah chapter 23, we'll finish with this here. Jeremiah 23, going to start at verse 5, read from verse 5 down to verse 8. Jeremiah 23 from verse 5 to 8, which we already studied. But notice what it says. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel, again, there's the two, the northern and the southern kingdom, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh, our righteousness. Therefore, behold, watch this, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say that Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. So we're coming from all the countries that he had driven us. Israel and Judah, with the strangers that dwell among them. Okay? Remove out of the midst of Babylon, go forth out of the land of the Chaldees, be as the goats before the rocks. All right, we're going to stop here for tonight. That's good. We're going to stop right here. See how powerful and deep this is. We got to take our time. This may take us a while, because this is 46 verses, and then you got chapter 51. We're going to have to, we got a lot to cover. So we just getting started. This was the warm-up Friday night, the warm-up for what we're studying here in Jeremiah chapter 50. But we're going to come back and continue by the grace of the Most High and see where we are right now. As we're seeing what's coming, we know where we are right now. We're at the precipice of receiving the Father's power of his Spirit. We're being prepared right now to receive his seal. That's what we're all doing right now. We're being prepared. Remember, he said he's going to hold the winds until we're sealed. So we're being prepared now for that time. It's coming very shortly. It's not going to be but a few more years, and it's going to be on, y'all. Going to be on. It's going to get real hectic, and it's building up. The hectic is building up until that time. Okay, our Satan knows what's coming, and he's battling it every step. He's battling us every step, but he cannot win. He cannot win. He's doomed. But it's not going to look like that, because We're in the middle of a worldwide Babylonian system. But the wise shall understand. I pray that the Most High will bless you and keep you, and that he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. I pray that the Father Yah cause his countenance to shine upon you and give you peace. Shalom.